Vertical Raise is the premier online donation platform, utilizing email, text messaging, and social media campaigns to exponentially increase the reach of your fundraiser. With detailed tracking and the complete personalization of every page, Vertical Raise provides an easy system that works. Our experienced representatives have made us the most effective fundraising platform available. We look forward to the opportunity in helping elevate your program to the next level and reaching your goals. Visit online or call today.
This is a Queen Bee Radio High School sports presentation.
Welcome to another edition of the Queen Bee Radio High School Sports Roundup, presented by Vertical Raise Milwaukee. Another busy week across our high school sports scene in our area, and we're going to lead things off or tip things off with girls basketball, and are joined by Galena truther Steve Prestegard to talk some girls basketball. And Steve, a very busy beginning part of the season in girls basketball. We've seen a number of big matchups already, conference play opening up on the Wisconsin side of things. Talk a little bit about some of these early season storylines that might have gotten your attention so far.
Well, what's been kind of interesting in a few cases is that there's some teams that have gotten off to pretty slow starts, some of which is a function of their schedule. Platteville, as an example, lost their first 4 games of the season. Well, look who they played. La Crosse Aquinas, they're ranked. Mineral Point, I think, was ranked at the start of the season. Darlington is very good. And the fourth team, New Glarus, they're ranked also. Right. So, but they have righted themselves. They got a great win at Prairie du Chien to start the season, and now they've won 3 in a row. Coming into their big game against Dodgeville Friday night. So, and there's been more than one case of that where teams just get off to slow starts, sort of because of the function of their schedule, sort of because of injuries and, some other, I guess, things tied to that. I don't think there's any real surprise in the swallow that Darlington, Cuba City, and Mineral Point are on top, 6-1, 5-2, 4-1. That's great. I think one of the interesting questions is, at least early on, it's going to be who's going to win the Six Rivers West, because teams again in that conference have gotten off to very slow starts. Best record is Belmont; they're 4-3. So I think also one pleasant surprise I think probably is also Wazeeka Steuben in the Ridge and Valley. They're 5-0 right now, so they're going to be a good team this year. And in the NUI West, the top 2 teams, obviously, no surprise. Galena, they're undefeated, and River Ridge Scales Mound, they're 8-2. So there's a kind of a mix of, this is not surprising. There are some cases that are surprising, but it's early. So, you kind of like, you feel like you don't, if you're not announcing games, you're probably not really paying attention to the standings until after the new year, perhaps. But it is interesting how certain aspects of the schedule have started off, I guess, this season with teams kind of getting off to slow starts. But, if you make a deep playoff run, they don't remember the losses in November. So there is that.
Yeah, the interesting thing from my vantage point, especially, in the basketball side of it, is the fact that the scheduling, the way things have kind of shaken out, like a lot of the big matchups that we think are going to decide the conference, they're happening pretty early in the season. We have River Ridge and Belmont, going head to head in their conference opener, or, one of the first couple games of the conference. And then coming up, this Thursday night on Extreme 107.1, it'll be Belmont hosting Shullsburg. Shullsburg, projected to be the number 2 finisher, according to WIS Sports in the Six Rivers West. And Belmont is having to go, the top 2 contenders in the conference, you would think, in back-to-back matchups to begin the season after having already a very tough beginning to their season. Their schedule was, absolutely front-loaded to begin. But it's one of those things where, if your team is battle-tested early, it factors into helping your team long term, having to pay more attention and be have that attention to detail in practice to give your team the best success to compete and win.
Right, and I think one of the reasons I should have mentioned also for the slow starts in some cases is there are a lot of teams that had a lot of graduation losses. Platteville is a great example of that. They had 6 seniors graduate, only 2 players from their rotation came back. So, in that sense, to start 0-4 is probably not very surprising. Kind of a similar situation with Highland. They don't have anybody back from, I believe they don't have anybody back from their state team 2 years ago. And if you look at their roster now, it feels like it's mostly freshmen and sophomores. There's an example of that, just some teams are off to slow starts because of the number of people they have to replace. On the other hand, I should have mentioned this before, that there are two schools that are extremely pleasant surprises, and they're over in the Six Rivers East, the two co-op programs.
Mm-hmm.
Albany Monticello is now ranked second in Division 5, and Argyle Pecatonica is ranked 6th in Division 5. I don't think anybody saw that coming. Albany had a great year last year, obviously, but where did Argyle Pet come from? And
Mm-hmm.
I guess we'll see if it lasts, but boy, is that interesting how the Six Rivers East, those two teams are like standing out from everybody basically in the entire conference, both divisions.
Yeah, absolutely. That Six Rivers East is going to be very interesting how it plays out. It really does seem it's coming out to be a two-horse race in that conference. One of the teams that kind of has my attention, although I really haven't gotten to see too much of them yet, is Dodgeville. Dodgeville's still undefeated and probably the favorite to win the SWC, just looking at numbers and the number of players coming back for each of the teams. What do you make of Dodgeville? I know you mentioned in a previous episode that it's probably their conference to lose, but as far as what we know about them so far, what do you kind of make of them and where they're at in the SWC?
Well, I'm pretty sure we'll get the answer to that Friday because yes, they are 5-0. I'm not sure they've been really tested that much in terms of who they played. Their first conference game, they needed overtime to beat Lancaster.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So there is that. They're going to hit a Platteville team on Friday that's playing very well right now. Although Platteville had a 20-point lead in Lancaster against Lancaster with 8 minutes left. Almost saw the whole thing go away. They did end up winning, obviously, but maybe Lancaster is better than their record. But you look at Dodgeville, new coach. But almost everybody is back from last season, and they've got 3 players that are averaging in double figures, and Marley Bush and McKenna Riley and Lily Weigel. So that's off to, they're off to a very good start. But the question again is, who have they played? Have they been really tested yet? I guarantee you they'll be tested by Friday.
Yep, agreed. And another team in the SWAL, Darlington, that they've had a really nice start to their season, and we'll kind of see how they factor into the SWAL. I'm pretty sure it's right now it's Cuba City, the front runner. They did defeat Mineral Point this past Friday, so Cuba City's asserted themselves in the front of the SWAL, but Darlington definitely going to be a team that has something to say in the SWAL. Coming up this season. Let's talk about some of the individual player performances that we've seen over the last week. You had the privilege of seeing Galena play on Tuesday night. Talk a little bit about what you've seen from the Pirates, because they're poised to have a deep postseason run by the way things are looking there.
You might say, here's what I find fascinating about that team. First weekend in November, they win the state volleyball championship. 3 days later, they're playing basketball, and they're 7-0. So, I can't remember what the date was. I believe it was in mid-October, but they had a volleyball match against Cissna Park in a tournament that they played in at Champaign St. Thomas More, and they got beat. That is the last time that, Gracie Furlong and Addie Hefel and Maya McCoy and Nevaeh Hauber and several other players have lost in anything. And they play more in
right.
Illinois than they do in Wisconsin. So it just blows my mind that a team could, win a state championship, and then 3 days later they're playing basketball. They got 2 practices in before they got to the first game. But you look at them, and they have literally picked up where they left off last season. They might actually in one sense, it's kind of not clear yet, but in one sense, they might have a better team in a sense. They have more height than they did last year. Last year's team didn't have a whole lot of height, but Hauber is 6 feet tall. Kendra Bauer is close to 6 feet tall. And they've got a couple of other tall players also. And even with all of that, as Jimmy Watson, the Galena coach, pointed out last night, 3 all-state guards. Taylor Burcham, Gracie. Yeah, exactly. Taylor Burcham, Gracie Furlong, Addie Hefel. I don't know anybody who's got that kind of combination. And, River Ridge Scales Mountain is going to give them a hard test, certainly, during the regular season. But I think if you ask any coach, any place, hey, would you like to have 3 all-state guards coming back? I think they'd say yes. So, Galena is the favorite until somebody makes them not be the favorite, basically.
Yep, agreed. And looking ahead to some of the girls' basketball games that we'll have our eye on, games that we have on Queen Bee Radio coming up Thursday night, Highland at Potosi Cassville on Super Hits 106 and the Queen Bee Radio Sports YouTube channel. And then a big one in the Six Rivers West, Shullsburg at Belmont on Extreme 107.1, also on the Queen Bee Radio Sports YouTube channel. Friday night in the SWC, we were talking about this earlier, Platteville at Dodgeville, probably the test for Dodgeville to see if they are truly the front runner in the SWC. That'll be on Extreme 107.1 Friday night. And then on Monday night, we have Highland at Wazeeka Steuben on 97.7 Country WGLR. And then Lancaster will host East Dubuque in girls basketball. We'll have that one on Super Hits 106 and the Queen Bee Radio Sports YouTube channel. But I think the big matchup coming up in girls basketball that I think a lot of people are going to have their eyes on across the tri-state area, it's going to be Galena versus Cuba City on Saturday at Loras College. So a team from Wisconsin, a team from Illinois going to go head-to-head in Iowa, because you can't have a true home game for either of those teams when they have to get together. But having the chance to see Galena and what we know about Cuba City, some initial thoughts on that matchup that they're going to have on Saturday.
Well, that's going to be a tremendous test for both teams. Obviously, it's unfortunate that we don't see more games like that, because there's great basketball being played on both sides of the state line. And I think at this point in things, you would have to say that Galena is probably the best team in this area. Hey, wait a second. Maybe I should do one of those high five lists.
Maybe you should.
Yeah. And next week. And, Galena is clearly the favorite in Northwest Illinois, obviously. So I think both teams, this might be the biggest test they have for quite a while. In fact, if you look, Cuba City didn't seem to have a whole lot of problem beating Mineral Point on Friday, it wasn't the result that was a surprise, but I think the margin was. But Galena, until they play River Ridge Scales Mound, or possibly one of the tournaments they have coming up, they have a tournament in Bloomington, Illinois. Gee, I wonder if anybody from Galena knows how to get there between Christmas and New Year's. And then they also have the Byron Martin Luther King tournament. Byron was the only team that beat Galena in the regular season last year, you might remember, which was it was actually the 4th game Galena played in 3 days in that tournament. So, until those points, I'm pretty sure that Galena and Cuba City are going to be each other's biggest tests so far this season, Saturday afternoon.
I'm looking forward to seeing how that one shakes out, and we'll be looking forward to chatting about it in next week's episode of the Queen Bee Radio Sports High School Sports Roundup. Thank you, Steve, for the talking points for girls basketball. We'll have some wrestling and boys basketball coming up when the Queen Bee Radio High School Sports Roundup continues after this on YouTube and SoundCloud. This one-on-one with the Great One interview is presented by People's State Bank.
Looking for a checking account with no monthly requirements or service charge? People's State Bank's People's Checking Account is just what you're looking for. This account includes free debit card, online and mobile banking, bill pay, and much more at no cost to you. You heard that right. No cost to you. We're your local community bank ready to serve you. People's State Bank. Member FDIC.
And now, introduce yourselves to the world.
I am Gracie Furlong, junior at Galena High School.
I'm Addie Hefel, a senior at Galena High School.
You guys forgot something. State champions in volleyball, right?
Yep, very exciting.
Yes, well, congratulations for that first.
You.
Well, let's talk about the game first because we really should. How do you feel like you guys played?
I thought we played very well, actually. We have had some bumpy games, I would say, but I think everything's really starting to come together, and I'm very excited.
Defensively, we played really well. We had a lot of steals that turned into points, obviously, and that's what allowed us to dominate on the offensive end. But just keeping the ball out of the other team's hands and stuff like that, we struggled with turnovers tonight. But besides that, it was pretty good.
All right, let's back up to the beginning of November. I understand that you're hiding the trophy until your banquet because I was looking for it. I didn't find it, but
really? I did not know that.
Has it sunk in now that you're the state champions in
I don't
volleyball?
think so. I don't think so. And honestly, at this point, I don't think it ever will. Like, I feel no different, and it's just crazy to me. Like, somebody's like, "You're state champ," and sometimes, like, I forget, and it has not sunk in. No.
Well, it's a huge accomplishment, and what I feel like was the biggest accomplishment is how you guys played from the sectional through the state. You know, you had the 2 3-set matches in the regional, and then you just kind of demolished people the rest of the way.
Yeah, that postseason run was incredible. That was a completely different team, in my opinion, from regular season. So just seeing us transform when it came time to play like that was really incredible.
I thought it seemed like every match in the last 5 was kind of like the same. It was close in the first set. And you got to about halfway through the second set, you decided, okay, you're done, and just wiped them out after that.
Yeah, I think it's very rare when you see a team only go to 3 sets a couple times in a postseason, especially in the state tournament. Like, we didn't go to 3 sets once. So I think that's very rare, and I think, like, everybody knew, like, we had to play our game, and if we played our game, like, that state championship trophy was, like, going to be ours. So I think we knew, like, we had to play when we had to play.
And the thing that I thought was also impressive in addition to that is, I mean, you guys get all the ink with, 4 kills a set and all of that, but I really felt like everybody who played well.
Agreed. Definitely the underclassmen stepped up every single game. They bring such an energy to the court, so that really helped everyone come together. So, yeah, they played very, very well, and I think that's what allowed us to dominate in those second to last games.
Yeah, I mean, your freshmen didn't play like freshmen. That's probably the biggest compliment you can make, right?
I know, and, like, if you talk to, like, some of the girls, I remember talking to some of the girls after we won it, and they were like, that was probably the best game I've ever played, and it was, like, the biggest game. So that was huge for us, is having girls have, like, career games and them playing the best that they can in the biggest game of their maybe career. So that was huge for us.
All right, now let's talk about basketball. You went to state 2 years ago, finished second. You went to state last year, finished third. You got Addie, you're a senior. Taylor's a senior. Is this the last window of opportunity, last and biggest window of opportunity, maybe to win a state title?
I mean, it definitely is for me, obviously, but I know there's a lot of talent coming up, and Gracie's got it the next years. But,
well, and among other things, you have 2 freshman starters.
Yeah, definitely a young squad coming up, but this is definitely the last opportunity for me, and I just want to finish it out this year, just like volleyball. To end on a state championship is obviously the dream, and so to do it in both sports would be amazing.
What's the I don't want to say secret or trick or anything like that, but why is this team playing as well as they have the last 2 years?
I think it's huge because me and Addie and Taylor, we played together for literally, like, as long as I can remember. Like, I think 3rd grade we started a club team together, so I think that's huge. Like, we have that chemistry that most teams have to build from their freshman year, and I think that's also huge for us. And just having that chemistry and knowing each other's games and just, like, giving 100% effort all the time and knowing that, like, this is our sport and, like, we're going to play it to our best ability is also very huge for us.
I'll add to that. We all work so hard outside of practice. A lot of people want to say it's luck or whatever, but each and every single one of us puts a lot of time in outside of practice, and when we're supposed to be there, we use our free time and we're in the gym, so I think that helps a lot when it comes down to it.
Yeah, well, you guys have been in Bloomington so much that I'm surprised Illinois State doesn't hire you as admissions counselors to do tours, when you're, well, I'll be back in May or March or whatever. So,
I know.
And the other thing is you guys have been to state so often that people have the hotels they want to go to, or in my case, the one you don't want to go to, and, restaurants to go to and all of that. I mean, you guys basically are the dominant team in the tri-states right now. There's nobody in Wisconsin that's done what you guys have done. And as far as I know, there's nobody in Iowa that's done. I mean, that has to be pretty cool, doesn't it?
It is very cool. I think that, again, like, we don't know what we do until we do it, and I think that, like, what we have is really rare, and I don't think any of us know that either. Like, I think that we kind of just go out and we play our game, and we don't really compare ourselves to other teams, and we kind of just, we do what we do, and I guess it works very well for us.
Yeah, definitely.
And just the community we have is very rare too. Just like you said, booking the hotels 7 months in advance. They just have such faith in us and trust in us, and I can't thank them enough for being behind us with everything.
I don't want to predict anything, but I'm kind of trying to figure out where that's going to work out for me also, because that 2 days, I'd have to come back basically because we got other playoff games going on. But one more question for each of you. First, what do you feel like you have to do to go back to Bloomington?
I think that if we work, obviously, defensively and offensively, but if we just continue to play as a team and we continue to, like, build that chemistry with the freshmen that we have, and we continue to build the freshmen up and just get them to, like, be more comfortable out on the court and just know that, like, they can take a shot and, like, no one's going to be mad at them. Like, they just have to come back, play defense, and then, like, do it all over again. So I think if we just build that team chemistry and we play like we should play, then we'll be completely fine.
Yeah, we have a lot of returners, but there still are a lot of new people, and it's a new team this year. So just building that chemistry on and off the court, I think, is really important to get down there. Just having trust in your teammates and everything. So just having confidence on the court with your team.
All right, one more question then. And you got a big opponent Saturday with Cuba City down at Loris. What's the key to beating a team which, by the way, is now ranked 6th, I believe, in Division 4 in Wisconsin?
Yeah, I think our defense is obviously, it's been a huge thing for us since my freshman year and since Addie's freshman year. Like, the coaches preach defense, and, like, defense can win games, obviously. And I think if we play our defense, they're not going to be able to handle us offensively, and we'll be fine.
Yeah, we'll definitely put a lot of time in practice with scouting and just learning everything about them. So just being prepared for them and everything, I think that's what will allow us to win that game.
Okay, that's 5 o'clock at Loris College in Dubuque on Saturday. Huge game, Galena and Cuba City. Congratulations on your state title and your 2 trips to state, and good luck. I know we'll see each other, but good luck the rest of the season. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
Addie Hefel and Gracie Furlong of the Galena Pirates, state champions in volleyball, 2 state trips in basketball, hoping for a third, probably favored for a third, although numerous other teams will certainly have something to say about that.
Grow your business by enhancing your digital marketing efforts with Queen Bee Radio and Phase 3 Digital. We provide customized solutions based on your business's unique needs, including targeted advertising, website development, and search engine optimization. Contact us at 608-349-2000 or visit p3da.com/Platteville to learn more.
Back on the Queen Bee Radio High School Sports Roundup, presented by Vertical Raise Milwaukee. Let's talk some high school wrestling, and we're joined by our Hall of Famer, Chuck Rasmussen, to talk about some of the early season action that we've seen across our high school wrestling area. And Raz, about a third of the way through the season already, kind of hard to believe that, it just feels like we just got things started, but there's already been a lot of wrestling action and some really interesting tournaments and early season matchups. Let's talk about some of these early season storylines a bit. What are some of the things that have stood out to you about this wrestling season so far?
Well, Tyler, you're right. We're about at the 1/3 mark of the season here. You look at where we're at right now, and then the middle third of the season, I always look at as kind of being your Christmas tournaments, and then the all the way up into the conference tournaments. And then after that, the last third, that second season with, the WIAA tournament series. So, yeah, we're at the third point. I think in my mind, most everything is going to kind of what we thought preseason wise. We got standouts as far as in Southwest Wisconsin, in especially in Division 3 with Fenimore. I've seen them. They look very, very, very good. We saw them again in the match the other night with Mineral Point, and they were without 2 of their mainstays, and they pretty much took care of Mineral Point the other day. Iowa Grant, right up there too. They are looking very good. And last weekend again, there was another match between between Iowa Grant and Prairie du Chien, and that one came down to the very last match again in an overtime.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And it was Prairie du Chien victorious, I think, by 1 point, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But that looks good. We've got several individuals that are looking really, really good. And the rankings that just came out today by Wisconsin Grappler, I think there's 11 in Division III that are either number 1 or number 2 ranked wrestlers. And then in Division II, there's 8. So that would be really cool if all those 19 wrestlers there could get to the state tournament finals.
Yeah, like you mentioned, Iowa Grant Highland and Prairie du Chien wrestling twice in an 8-day span, and as you mentioned, it came down to the final match. What was interesting about the second matchup was that Iowa Grant Highland had, I believe, a 32-point lead. They led 32-0, winning those basically first half of the matches, and then it was Prairie du Chien that stormed all the way back, coming back to win in the Devils duels. And boy, the wrestling action that we've gotten to see, not just in the area, but the ones that we've been able to cover on our Queen Bee radio stations. The Lancaster Cuba City Tri-Up matchup came down to the final match. We saw some action in the first matchup between Iowa Grant Highland and Prairie du Chien. What a back and forth that one was. And then just the other night we had Lancaster at MFL Mar Mac, where MFL Mar Mac was able to come away with the 45-28 win. But a very impressive showing by Lancaster, just because of the number of injuries that the Flying Arrows had heading into that, meaning some underclassmen had to perform that evening.
Yes, and they did, and we've been very fortunate so far that we've had some very exciting matches and matches that will come right down to the very end. So they've been fun. It's been a good first third of the season so far.
So looking ahead to the second third, as you mentioned, the Christmas tournaments, obviously Bi-State is going to be on the way. We have the Lancaster Invitational that we'll have on Queen Bee Radio coming up first weekend in January. What are some of the things that you're kind of looking forward to over these next couple weeks, and things that you're kind of curious about that might shape out how the rest of the season goes?
Well, you talk about the Bi-State tournament there. One of the things that I'm curious to see is a team that we haven't mentioned much, but a team that has got a lot of very, very good individuals, and that's the Dodgeville team. Mm-hmm. And I just the way that the Bi-State tournament is scored, I could see them in the top 3 and maybe all the way to the top if they all perform well. So it's going to be interesting there. I think most of the Southwest Wisconsin is up at the Bi-State tournament, so it'll be fun to watch those individuals and the teams as they compete in that, and several other Christmas tournaments. Fenimore goes to a different direction than the rest of the group does, but they should do well in that tournament too. And
we saw Fenimore. Yeah, we saw Fenimore not last week, but the week before. They wrestled at the Cliff Keen tournament, and
yes.
Tristan Stelt was the champion in his weight class. I believe Wyatt Oden was also the champion in his weight class as well. That was a very impressive showing at a very tough tournament for Fenimore. And the Golden Eagles, they're not afraid of competition. They're going to where the strongest competition is going to be at. And we've kind of talked about it during our broadcast too. It seems like this is. At least on the surface, this is Fenimore's division to lose in Division III. They are loaded, and with the number of wrestlers they have coming back.
Yeah, you are correct with that. I think quite a number of seniors in the lineup too, and they're not going to sneak up on anybody.
Right.
I've been impressed. Last year when we talked at the state wrestling tournament there to a number of the individuals about how well they are prepared, not only physically, but they know their opponents coming up, and they know that, be it Tyler Dignanis that they're wrestling against, and he does an excellent fireman's carry, or he works for the cross-face cradle, or I think we can work underhooks on him and things like that. I was just so impressed with how prepared they were for their opponents.
Yeah, it should be a very fun second part of the season. And again, we'll have coverage of the Lancaster Invitational. I believe that's January 6th or whichever Saturday that is. We'll have that on one, if not multiple, Queen Bee Radio family of stations. We'll also have that on the Queen Bee Radio Sports YouTube channel. And boy, what a fun start to the wrestling season it's been, Chuck. And we talk about Wisconsin wrestling just being so strong, especially in our southwest corner of the state. But just from what we've seen, it seems like almost every dual meet, when we the ones that we've been able to see, and some of these programs that are matching up, it comes down to things that I keep saying during our broadcast, that it's not necessarily winning, but how you win. And sometimes it's, it's not losing, but how you lose. If you can avoid a pin, how important, that is, especially in these dual type formats.
You are correct in that, and so many times I don't think people realize that, but I think there are getting to be more and more and more that do realize that. And it is important when you get into these close dual meets. And we've been fortunate to see a number of very close dual meets, and I think we're going to see a lot come this second third of the season too. You look at the SWC, Brady Sheen's going to walk away with things, but Dodgeville, if they could get some help in some of those middle heavier weights, you never know. So I think that Dodgeville probably the number 2 team, and then depending upon, Belmont Platteville has looked good. Lancaster, they filled the lineup out, and Richland Center has had some good showings. I'll see Richland Center this weekend, but at the Richland Center Invitational, get a glance at them. So I think the teams on the lower side there, depends on who's healthy, and that when it comes to the dual meets there. Boy, in the SWAL, I tell you, Fenimore, I think they're the class, but Iowa Grande is not, in my mind, very far behind. I've seen Riverdale wrestle. They look good too. And I think there's going to be some good dual meets there between Iowa Grande and Mineral Point. And you throw in Riverdale there, and Darlington's got a good squad too. Yep. So it's going to be fun. It should be, again, hopefully everybody stays healthy and gets to the weight they want to be at, or the team wants them at, and it'll be fun.
Yep. And from a coaching perspective, Raz, what are the things that these coaches are going to be emphasizing with the wrestlers during this second part of the season? You've already gotten some mat time. You've probably had some, tough matchups, early on. What are the things that these coaches are probably emphasizing with their teams in the second third of the season?
Well, I'm guessing too that they're getting to the point where they can start to figure out who should probably be at what weight class, and trying to get them there, and keeping everybody healthy. We saw that last night over at MFL. Lancaster was without 7 on the injured list, and again, you want to stay healthy as we go into the second, third, and then the tournament series.
Yep, looking forward to seeing how the second part of the season pans out, and a number of dual meets and teams that are going to be competing over the next couple of weeks in some high-end tournaments. Looking to see how it all shakes out. Thanks a lot, Raz, for joining us for our wrestling discussion in this week's High School Sports Roundup. We'll have more on the Queen Bee Radio High School Sports Roundup presented by Vertical Race Milwaukee after this on YouTube and SoundCloud.
Check out Sups.com. Sups is Southwest Wisconsin's go-to supplement store. Find all your favorite supplement brands at the best prices from local people. Fuel your fitness journey. Sups.com, your go-to supplement store with locations in Fenimore and Dubuque.
This week's highlight reel is presented by Sups.com.
Throw a pass to the right side, and a 3 to the right side. That's the way you do it. That's Miles Hinderman with the 3. And a pass on the baseline, nearly stolen away. Now they find the open man, left side, and a 3 ball on the way. It bounces off the rim and good for Miles Hinderman. 12-11, the Cubans lead. Busher, corner left, 3. That's the way you do it. Richards and the Redbirds have it. Forecourt with Brady Long. Dish it back out to Guiley. He'll let fly the 3, and that's the way you do it. Hinderman makes the first move to his right, and then goes baseline, corner left, 3 ball. That's the way you do it. Tyson Richard, and that's his second 3 tonight. Long out to Busher in the corner left, the 3. That's the way you do meets Will Murray on the baseline. Twists and turns, somehow completes the pass. Inside to Murray, and he put it in. Carter Murray. The pass comes up on tap to Carter Murray over to Jackson. Busher, rhythm 3 from the right. Oh my! That's the way you do it. Inbound, nearly thrown away. Broker Busher has. Now coming on the baseline, right side, and rising and scoring is Carter Murray. Payne picks up the dribble, cut off. Now they go to the corner left, dribbling in, and driving is Reagan Jackson, up and in, and a foul.
Drive for the right wing, and then a pass back for Olmsted, lays it up and lays it in. Mallory Olmsted gets in his scorebook for the first. Here's Richard, just getting past the Lancaster logo, drives it all the way in and lays it up and in. Hoosier now dribbles between the circles, bounce pass right side to Richard. Up top, Bernchin, she'll put it up for 3 from there. Bullseye! Jackson Bernchin to 3. It's 11-7 Platteville. And looking for somebody to pass to, gets it out to Blevins, and now the 3 right at the point. Bullseye! And Weber the bounce pass over to Nemitz. Now between the circles, Olmsted drives the lane, lays it up, and banks it in. As the pace picks up, Blevins underneath, lays it up and in, and will go to the foul line. Has basically been most of this margin, and banked in for 3, and a foul for Hoosier. And pass goes to Martin, and now a drive in the corner, basket for Martin, and a foul. Passes to the left wing, and Morgan for 3, bullseye! Morgan to 3, it's 49-44, and a timeout for Lancaster with 42.6 seconds left in the second half. Noble still has 9, but that's going to be it. Final score, Platteville 53, Lancaster 47.
He's trying to dig out that half. Now she's dug it out, and she's going to turn. Got a 1 count. There's a 1. There's a 2. 4, 5. Least is going to come up with a 3-point near fall. And very close. There's a fall. Pin time of 5 minutes and 15 seconds for Kashyla Weeds. No points yet. Still time to get the near fall and the pin in this second period. Now he's got near fall criteria met, and he also has the pin. Pin time of 3:44 for Logan Wolf. 20 seconds to go. Lawinger trying to stay to his base. Now up to his feet goes Lawinger. Lawinger gonna get the escape, gonna try to. 8 seconds. Brought back down to the mat. 10-10. And there's a sit-out. Lawinger's going to get the reversal with 1 second remaining. Lawinger pulls out a 12-10 victory. Wow. Tremendous match. Wow. Both wrestlers giving it all. Well, with a crusher. Gain near fall points, trying to tighten things up. Will Cradwell still got 37 seconds remaining in this second period. Put that chin in there, Will. Use that chin. About a half an inch. And there's a pin. Cradwell with a fall. The time of 3 minutes, 34 seconds. And Tidrick can get a reversal. There's the 2 reversals. That'll make it a major decision. Devin Tidrick with a 12-4 decision, major decision over Olin Mathis. Again, Mathis, a 5th place finisher at state in Iowa last year. There's Bertrand able to snap down and spin through. He's got his opponent on his back. Very close to come, and there's a pin.
Little too much showmanship there at the end.
Doing real excited. Very cool. There's a head throw by Paul, and she's got her opponent on her back.
Vertical Raise is the premier online donation platform, utilizing email, text messaging, and social media campaigns to exponentially increase the reach of your fundraiser. With detailed tracking and the complete personalization of every page, Vertical Raise provides an easy system that works. Our experienced representatives have made us the most effective fundraising platform available. We look forward to the opportunity in helping elevate your program to the next level and reaching your goals. Visit online or call today.
Back on the Queen Bee Radio High School Sports Roundup, presented by Vertical Raise Milwaukee. It's now time to talk boys hoops, and we're now joined by Mark Evenstad, who's been on the call of quite a few boys basketball games over the last couple weeks, and he's going to be on the call of a big one on Friday night. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. But Shark, the boys basketball teams starting conference play over the last week and a half or so, and just kind of looking at how things have shaped out. What have been some of the early season storylines that have stood out to you to begin the season?
Well, of course, the coaching change at Cuba City. Jerry Pettigrew retires, and then Tanner Sheevy steps in. Got off to a good start, and then ran into a buzzsaw with Belleville and then East Dubuque. So some folks might be saying, oh, what's wrong with Cuba City? Can Tanner Sheevy really equal Jerry Pettigrew? What's going on there? Well, hey, folks, relax. Cuba City will probably be in the mix by the end of the season, but these things do take time because he does not have a real veteran team, and they've taken a few lumps. And meanwhile, Jerry Pettigrew decides, I'm not done coaching some basketball. I don't want to coach basketball in the proverbial traditional sense, but I like to keep coaching basketball. So he is serving as an assistant for Galena right now. And so we want to wish him all of the best. And then, as far as what's happening right now in Southwest Wisconsin, you have your usual strong teams in places like the Six Rivers Conference, the SWAL, and the SWC, and you might see a surprise here or there, but we'll have to see how the season plays out.
Yeah, one of the things that's kind of stood out to me as far as the season goes, and it's just a weird scheduling thing, I think, for us, because for us broadcasters, it's been a pretty busy couple weeks, getting the season started because so many of these big conference matchups are happening so early in the season. And that really kind of helps make the conference take shape maybe a little bit earlier in the season than we originally had intended. But with that in mind, Shark, some of the teams that maybe have caught your attention, I'll say the one team that's got my attention just because I've seen them a couple times in the way that they've played. The Lancaster Flying Arrows in the SWC, and looking at how things have been shaking out for them, they're 4-2. They went 4-21 last year, so they've already matched their win total from last year. And Coach Brian Knapp says, that team's been playing with quite a bit of confidence. They've been, pretty chipper and, kind of have that chip on their shoulder, and it's certainly helped them out so far. But maybe some of the other teams around the area, any other teams that have kind of caught your eye as far as how their season has started?
Well, I'm not looking at any standings. I'm just kind of going by what I hear or what I see when we get results. But I can tell you that Platteville, they've been kind of up and down this year. Of course, when they're playing maybe a team from the Six Rivers Conference, as they played Cattsville last night, they dominated in that game. So that's good news for Hillman fans. I think that Coach Mike Hoosier, he's got the bodies, he's got the people. He's got Zach McLean, who is coming off of a broken jaw that he suffered in football, and he hasn't let that really bother him, and he is scoring up around double figures consistently for the Platteville Hillman. So that's good to see. And as far as the SWAL Conference, it's the usual players there too. For the last couple of years, it's been Cuba City, Mineral Point, Darlington. There might be somebody who can sneak in there. Certainly Southwestern would qualify with that. But the reason why is that they're really a Division 5 team competing in a Division 4 conference. And so, you'll take a look at their record after the end of the 24-game season, and they might be they might be 16-8 or 15-9. But don't let that fool you. They're a very good basketball team. They're still well coached by Clint Nimitz, that when they get into the Division 4 playoffs,
They are truly playoff ready.
Yeah, absolutely. And Southwestern did fall to Mineral Point already, so that kind of helps shake the swallow a bit. And you were mentioning Platteville earlier. The two losses that Platteville's had, they have a 2-2 record. The two losses were to Mineral Point and Darlington. So I mean, there's no shame in losing to two of the best teams, arguably in the state. Just with the way that the rankings have panned out so far. But you've seen, quite a bit of Darlington, over the early part of the season, as well as a number of games involving Cuba City. Any individual player performances that kind of caught your attention and are noteworthy of sharing?
Well, it's probably no surprise that Will Murray shines for Darlington. Last night, he got his 1,000th career point. And, here he goes. He's 6'7", and he is just so coordinated around the basket. And if he gets a rebound, an offensive rebound, good luck stopping him. He gets the ball so close to the rim, he's more than likely to score. Plus, he's got a good touch when he's shooting the basketball. And another player I think is really a good long-range shooter for that Darlington team is Broker Busher. He had 20 points last week in their win over Cuba City. And last night, he had 15 in Darlington's win over Fenimore. Here's a guy that looks like a very confident outside shooter. So if Darlington might be down in a game and they need a big 3-point bucket, there's a guy that you can look to.
Yeah, got to see some of his highlights from the game that we had on the Queen Bee Radio Sports YouTube channel, where some nice catch and shoot threes to really help Darlington out in that matchup against Cuba City. And looking ahead at, some of the games that we have coming up on the boys basketball side, Friday evening, we have Cuba City at Fenimore on Super Hits 106. And there's this, pretty solid matchup on Friday night at the Call of Shark. Darlington at Mineral Point. That'll be on 97.7 Country WGLR. All it is the number 1 ranked team against the number 3 ranked team in Division 4. Swell rivals. You've called a number of these games between Darlington and Mineral Point throughout the years. This one probably about as even a matchup and as big of a matchup as any between these two programs.
And unfortunately, I have yet to see Mineral Point, so I'm looking forward to this game coming up on Friday night. And yes, the last several years, it's been those two teams along with Cuba City, and really nobody else when it comes to the SWAL. But make no mistake about it, Mineral Point just has some outstanding players. You've got Eli Lindsay, who is just a nice basketball player. He's another one of those guys that goes about 6'4", but he's not one of those beefy 6'4" guys. He's so sleek and he's so smooth, and he just knows his way around the basket, but he can also hit the perimeter shot. Having one of those guys on your team is a real plus.
Yep, absolutely. And two great head coaches going to be on the sidelines for both teams. It's going to be an outstanding matchup, and looking forward to seeing how that shakes out. One other game I want to mention that we have on Monday night. This is a big one too. Potosi at Southwestern. We'll have that one on Extreme 107.1, and these are two teams that have gone head-to-head the past two postseasons. Both teams alternating wins and losses in those two seasons. The first matchup 2 seasons ago, Southwestern got the better part of Potosi in the sectional semifinal before Southwestern fell in, we'll say, controversial fashion to Bangor, where Bangor got to go to state. And then the matchup last season, Potosi able to come away with a win on their home floor in the regional final that got them into the sectional round, where they eventually lost to Wazeeka Steuben. Potosi ranked number 4, I believe, in the latest WISports.net poll in Division 5. And Southwestern, as you mentioned, Shark, they're not an easy out regardless of who they're playing. They played Mineral Point pretty tough in their matchup on their home floor. It's going to be in Hazel Green, and yeah, curious to see how the Wildcats fare against a very good Potosi team, and that factors into positioning down the line as far as seeding and things like that. So looking forward to seeing how that matches up. And then also on Tuesday, boys basketball, Fenimore at Platteville. That'll be on Extreme 107.1. And then Tuesday night as well, basketball at Lancaster. That'll be on WGLR and on the Queen Bee Radio Sports YouTube channel. So that's our boys basketball conversation. Thank you, Shark, for taking the time to chat with us. And that is this episode of the Queen Bee Radio High School Sports Roundup. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you for another episode next week.